Welcome to Mission Unstoppable. Hi, how are you? How's everything going for you on this wonderful Thursday afternoon? I have with me an amazing guest. He is a man who came from the urban streets of Philly. He grew up in a system where gangs ruled every corner and later moved to his grandmother's farm in Georgia, where he learned about another system, one that is unique to the southern states. I think you all know what I'm talking about. At 17, Alan Maxwell began what would become a 22-year career in the Navy. He was stationed around the globe. He reached the rank of Chief Warrant Officer Three. He later became an Aero-Space Engineer at the Space and Naval Warfare Commander in San Diego. And today, he runs Omni 2 Max, a defense contractor business with over 100 employees in 9 states. His latest book, his newest book, The System is Unforgiving, Play by the Rules and Win, is now a bestseller. So please welcome Alan F. Maxwell. Hi. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing career. Pretty amazing. I mean, 17 years old, you went to, it was kind of interesting, your dates, because at 17, I went to join the Navy too. I was living in Louisville at the time. I just moved from Kentucky and I hated high school there. They wouldn't take me because I wanted to fly planes. Anyway, they go, no, we don't like girls. So interesting that you chose the Navy though. First one out, you didn't try the Army or anything else, went right to the Navy?
Well, actually, I went down to enlist in the Air Force because I was in Air Force ROTC.
And you were a pilot. Yeah, you had a friend who taught you how to fly.
I learned how to fly right when I was in high school at about 15, 16 years old. And so one would have thought, and I was in Air Force ROTC, so one would have thought the career would have been aviation, flying, all that sort of stuff. As it turned out, I missed the Air Force exam by 3 points.
Oh, no.
They told me to come back in 6 months, but I was so desperate to get out of Georgia. As I walked by the Army and Marine Corps guy, they both offered me jobs, and I went, no thanks. And then the Navy guy says, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do computers and electronics. And he goes, I have just the place for you. So I joined the Navy.
That is so funny because I walked out of the Air Force. I go, you guys gonna let me fly? They go, nope. And the Army goes, come here. And I'm like, who the hell wants to join the Army?
Right.
I said, do you have a cavalry? I'll ride horses. I don't care. But yeah, like you, I was kind of desperate to get out of there, but I didn't make it. So that's kind of funny. So into computers, and this was what, the 70s, wasn't it?
This was 1977. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were fairly new, fairly big and new.
My first computer was a Commodore 64.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you were into computers, and let's go back to the Philly for a minute, because urban Philly is a little bit rough and tumble.
Right.
Kind of, right. You had to know the streets a little bit, and you had other siblings. You were the youngest, I think, of your siblings. And so were any of your brothers in the gangs?
So in Philly, the way it worked was everyone was in the gang. It was determined based on your geographic location. It wasn't determined of your personal will. Mm-hmm. So we lived, like for instance, we lived in 21st and Westmoreland Street, gang territory, and I went to school in 15th and Venango Street, gang territory. So just by virtue of where I lived, I was automatically associated with that gang,
right?
Whether I was part of it or not.
So you're over here. We don't like them, so we don't like you. Doesn't matter, whatever. No. So I think you had a friend in the other gang territory that you would walk home with sometimes to kind of keep you safe. Is that right?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, his name was Alan as well. Alan Henry, who we reconnected about a year ago.
Oh, that's great.
Years. Yeah.
That's fun.
Thank goodness to Facebook.
Yeah. Well, it's easier for you guys because you don't change your name.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Hard to find the girls these days. Right. Yeah. Okay. So we left Philly, and your mom. It was your mom that decided to take you back to her hometown, I guess, because she realized what was happening.
Sure. I mean, with 5 boys in the city, it was pretty rough back then, and the school system was having some problems. Her and my dad were having some problems, and she looked at her options, and against our judgment or better thoughts, she made a decision. She pulled the trigger and moved the tribe down to Georgia on the farm, which I feel very blessed that we're able to do that because a lot of my cousins didn't have that option.
Yeah.
They're still in Philly right now today. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And Grandma was a woman to be reckoned with. People knew her. They respected her in the South. So
She
by
was,
virtue of her reputation, you kind of got a pass a couple times.
and her name was Alan too.
Really? Your namesake?
I am a namesake actually, and spelled the same way. And
Wow.
what I learned is very few women names are Alan in the world.
Yeah, I wonder how that came about. Do you know how that came about?
I do not. I do not.
Interesting.
But I'm glad that I was her namesake because she was certainly the matriarch of the family. She was certainly the powerhouse. She was certainly the brains, and she was certainly, all the things that I am, um,
Yeah.
and even more.
But the South isn't really a place you want it to be. And I don't blame you. When I moved to Kentucky in the 70s, so let's say, I think around 72 or so, coming from Canada. So
Oh,
it was the first um, it was the first day of desegregation. So at my high school, they bussed in, and it was a fairly wealthy white neighborhood high school. I didn't even know it. My first day there too. 3,000 kids, and they're busing all these urban black kids in from wherever. Nobody was happy. They were not happy campers. And I'm just like sitting there like, what? What's going on? I don't get it.
so you know exactly my feelings. That's exactly what happened to me. I had no idea what integration meant, no idea what segregation meant.
Yeah.
It was happening right in 1970 when that started happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. And yeah, it must have been really strange for you to be down in the South, and you didn't want to finish high school, but mom wanted you to.
I actually quit in the ninth grade, and a cousin from Connecticut encouraged me that if I made the choice to quit, that's what I end up at is a nobody, nothing.
A quitter.
It wasn't a part of my DNA at that time. I wanted to be something, somebody. So
So you're kind of a thinker. So I can kind of see where you came up with, to sit back and see the pictures. But the idea of the system, when did you identify the system the
well,
first time?
so it was in Georgia. Again, when I first got down there, working out in the fields, totally was foreign to me, and that's hard labor.
Mm-hmm.
And watching the mechanics of that, watching who was selected to do what, really just kind of encouraged me to say, I don't want to be the field hand. I want to be the supervisor. I want to be, and so what does it take to do that? And so I maneuvered my way to become, they didn't call us supervisors, but put me in a different position where I wasn't the guy out
Back-breaking labor.
right in the hot sun all day long.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized that there was a system in place, and I could have been like the traditional and just went against the hating the different races and all that sort of stuff, or I could say, hey, listen, we're all in this together. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do the best I can. And when that was recognized, I didn't complain. I didn't make issues. I just said, hey, I'm here to do it the best I can. And
Right.
so opportunities were afforded to me.
So I think a lot of people may have issue with this, but you say that the system does not have anything to do with culture, race, creed, color. It's not going to hold you back of any of those things. What would hold you back from the system is not knowing the system.
Absolutely. That's 100%. And what that means is, so many people wants to put their emotions involved in decisions and things of that nature, but a lot of times decisions have nothing to do with you. It's, hey, we need someone with this skill set to do X, Y, Z, and either you have it or you don't. It has nothing to do with you personally, has nothing to do with your makeup. It just says you don't fit the billet. And so I try to not look at things in a personal nature. I look at it in a factual nature and say, okay, I got it. But
That's hard.
it is very hard to do that.
It's hard, especially, like you're in the Navy for those 22 years. And of course, you make friends and you know people. And if you were passed over for something, that would be personal. It would feel personal.
It would feel personal, right?
It might not be personal, but it would feel personal. And so now you say, well, I could be a person who holds a grudge, or I could just be a person who just lets that duck like water, or water over my back or whatever, and carry on.
And that's exactly the path that I chose. And so, and what I leveraged is that when I saw in the military, for a good example, I'm watching others getting promoted, getting commissioned. And I looked at him and said, well, I know I'm smarter than this guy. I know I'm capable. I know I'm equal. I know I'm just as good. So why can't I? What is this guy doing and I'm not? So I had to learn what he was doing, and it worked for me.
Right.
And I proved it.
So you proved that have you ever taught the system to anybody else? Have you ever taught other people to see the system and watch it work other than for yourself?
Yes. So one guy who's my best friend to this day, he lives down in Corpus Christi, Texas. He and I are like brothers. When he was a young petty officer like myself, he took a hold of me and he allowed me to mentor him, and he followed my footsteps, and he ended up leaving the Navy as a lieutenant commander in the Navy with the Bronze Star, and he's an outstanding individual, and his entire family is outstanding. All his kids are my guide kids. As a matter of fact, we're texting this morning about football, the fantasy football. So absolutely. He's about the only one that actually listened. I have a couple that took pieces and parts, but he took the whole enchilada.
Interesting. So, you know, and out of the system came your 15 rules. And one of the rules was, you know, find a mentor.
Absolutely. That is so key. That is so key.
And how would you choose a mentor? Like if people were, you know, people are listening and they're going, I'd like to have a mentor. Sure. Like who should I get to mentor me?
So here's the answer that you're probably not looking for. The mentor chooses you as opposed to you choosing the mentor.
Okay.
Yes. And the reason I say that is because we tend to want to just grab somebody for them to fit a slot that we want. That's not how it works. You might identify with someone, but then it's going to be their decision to agree to mentor you because they see something in you. And that's how your mentorship really begins. And that's how you get the best out of your mentor.
Okay. So when you joined the Navy, I think was the term ship daddy? Was that what it was?
Sea daddy.
Sea daddy. Yeah. So this gentleman decided that he was going to mentor you. He said, you know, I don't know, took a look at you and said, here's a boy I'm going to turn into a man or whatever he was thinking in his head. And he did. And he was hard and he was tough sometimes. And I'm sure you're grateful for every second he poured into you. You could have said no. What made you say yes?
Oh, I said no. Oh, I said no. I said no several times, but he didn't let go. He didn't let go because he saw something in me. So here's the beauty. Probably about 4 months ago, I got to give him a signed copy of my book.
Oh, nice.
And he's a guy that doesn't have a lot of emotions, doesn't show a lot of emotions. And I hadn't seen him in, a bunch of years. And he just looked at me with this big old smile. He hugged me about 6 or 7 times. He shook my hand about 10 times. And he said, I knew that you were going to end up the way you are. And he says, and I've been watching you throughout your life. So I knew you'd end up being successful.
Wow.
To me, that was priceless. That was priceless.
Yeah, for sure.
So he took a very vested interest in me.
Did he ever say why?
About just because he, grew up in very similar conditions, and he saw that I had a drive that I didn't see, and he did everything he could to get me to see that drive.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I attribute everything to him. I thank him over and over and over a million times. He was the angel in my life to get me going.
So you had a few of those. Speaking of angels.
Yeah. Yes.
Who was the next one that walked on?
So let's see. The biggest one would be the SJA over in Guantanamo Bay. That was a situation that I was in that was absolutely crazy for an organization to conjure up a scheme to try to overthrow you for whatever purpose it was. But again, he saw the wrongdoings and he knew the type of person I was. And he and the entire legal team got behind me to ensure that I didn't get railroaded or my career being destroyed.
So I guess, just give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Because that fits one of your rules. Okay. Don't let the haters distract you. That's right. And I guess it's kind of like making friends with the right people. Like you knew how to, let's say, ground yourself with, the people who you would need. Not like you're going, oh, I'm going to need you, so I'm going to be your friend, but you knew who to put into places that would potentially, benefit you in the end.
Well, I think the reality is that at the time I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be or where I wanted to go, but I knew what I didn't want. And I didn't want trouble, or I didn't want turmoil. And in my book, I talk about some of the friends that I was around that all I had to do was pull a trigger, and my life would have been completely different than it is today.
Yeah.
So that's one of my rules is stay close to your circle. So, and what I mean by that is what I learned was, one, when you're out there amongst the crowd, that's not good because you get associated with the crowd.
Yeah.
But if you keep your circle close, 1 or 2, 3 people most, like my friend Larry, and I have another friend Ephraim and John, but these are friends that I've had for over 30 years that I could call on right now today, and the answer is yes without even hearing the question. But I found also that when you have haters around you, you get away from them quickly, because when you start spending your energy trying to justify or fit in, that's time that's being wasted from something else that you could be doing positive.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of positive and negative, let's wind back 20 years to the first wife and discernment. So you met this woman. She was beautiful. People, red flags going off, beep, 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 everywhere. And people saying, oh, I think you're too good for her. No, I don't think you want her as your wife or girlfriend even. You had the blinders on. Young man with the blinders on. Why? What made you want to get married so quickly? Because you were leaving town, or what was it?
So here's the real truth behind all of that. At a young age, I had my life planned out. At 17, I was going to leave home and I was going to find the love of my life. I was going to have the 2.3 kids and a dog. I was going to have the white picket fence and I was going to live happily ever after. That was my dream. And then I met her and I thought that that was the answer to my prayers. And I forced the issue because I didn't see all the things that was going on around me because I was so focused on my little dream. So all the red flags, I'm like, no, I'm making an exception. Nope, I'm going to make an exception to this. No, I hear you, but I'm going to change her. And I'm going to make her see what I see. And well, that was a huge mistake.
Well, yeah, you can't change anybody.
Can't change anybody, right? And then being in the military, and I did get orders to Bermuda, and I felt, oh, here's Miss Perfect. Now I'm getting orders. I got to marry her. So within 4 months of meeting her, we were married. Another huge mistake.
So if young guys listening right now, you would say,
get to know your mate, spend time with them.
Yeah.
Like with my current wife, I actually got to know her, got to know her family, got to go through counseling to understand the likes and dislikes of her family, not so much of her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. So wife number one, she went, see you later. You got to Bermuda, right? And yes. Things didn't exactly go according to plan. I'm kind of interested though, you growing up, in urban Philly and then in Georgia, where did the idea come to you? Because you didn't know anybody with a white picket fence and the dog and the 2-point kid. Like, where did that idea come from? Did you read a book or TV or what was that?
It was a dream. I mean, because again, the way we lived in Philly, it was a pretty harsh environment and I never liked that. I just didn't like it. And so I always said that someday when I grow up, I want to have something nice. I want to have a family that's loving. So it was just a dream that I wanted to fulfill.
Yeah, interesting. Wow. So yeah, things didn't work out so great marriage-wise in Bermuda, but it did work out because you met your second wife there, the one of your love of your life, really. Who you've been with, what, 42 years now?
It's been 36. We've been together 38 years, married 36.
Wow.
39 years, 36, yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, absolutely.
And 2 daughters.
Today.
Yeah. Awesome. And your girls are how old now?
So my oldest is 35, who's in the military, and my youngest is 29, who's a lawyer right now.
Excellent.
Both are doing well.
Good. And did your wife stay a housewife?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
She currently works for me now part-time, and she works in the government. So that was part of our arrangement, was that the only 2 times that she didn't work was when our children were born, from ages birth to 3, when they were able to tell us with their own words
something's going on. Yeah.
Right. Then after that, she went back into the workforce. But I wanted her to have a career as well. In case something would happen to me, I didn't want her to be dependent on some other person coming in trying to control my children. I wanted her to be strong and be on her own.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so Bermuda was, after Bermuda, you guys went to San Diego, did you?
After Bermuda, actually went straight from Bermuda to the Philippines.
Oh, that's right. That's
Hmm.
right. Yeah. And where did your wife go?
What do you mean? Where did she
Did she
go?
stay in Bermuda or did she go to Philippines too?
Oh yeah, no, we travel
Oh,
as a tribe.
oh, you
One move,
travel as
we
a
all
tribe.
move. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the Philippines was interesting.
Philippines was very interesting. Um, there was a lot of marriages destroyed over there. There was a lot of interesting things that happened. But for me, that was actually the catalyst that really turned my career around because I was put in place as a very junior petty officer to be responsible for very senior people above me. I had like 17 people that were more senior to me, and I was the leading petty officer.
Wow.
Hmm. So
And the Philippines was kind of rife with, like you said, a lot of the relationships went because a lot of sex trade, a lot of drinking, a lot of
it
just
was it was
debauchery, if you want to call it that.
it was Vegas on steroids is a good way to put it.
Okay. But you
Yeah,
got out of there. You got out of there.
got out of there
Okay.
happily married.
Not
Still
an alcoholic.
not an alcoholic. No baggage, no nothing. Just a good career actually. So
So you were on the Kincaid.
yes,
Not the best of times. Tell us about, I think you wrote in the book something about it was virtually impossible for a warship to collide or have an accident.
absolutely. And the way we're trained, the way the redundancy is put in place, and the way the organizational operates, it is theoretically impossible for a warship to collide with another one. I'm here to tell you that that collision happened the day we departed from San Diego, and the physical act happened 4 months later, 4 or 5 months later. It was a series of things that didn't happen to that one point where everything that could go wrong did go wrong at one particular time, which caused the collision at sea, which caused the loss of one life and four of my best friends to get sucked out into the Straits of Malacca. They're very lucky to be here today. So
So when you say that the accident happened really the day you left, is that because of the commanding officer?
it was totally because of the commanding officer. So I think what happened was whatever system that he was in was trying to promote him very fast. He had a lot of support around him. He didn't have naturally the substance to, I believe, to do the job that he was tasked to do. And so I think he was ill-equipped. I think he may have been a good person, but I think he was just not ready for the position that they gave him. So a lot of that breakdown started. And what I mean by that, for instance, is at sea, you're supposed to notify him of certain occurrences. Well, some of the major department heads were not notifying him, and he never chastised them for or held them accountable. He allowed it to go on. So all of a sudden, you had little fiefdoms built on the ship, and you had a lot of morale issues on the ship.
So when you were telling them, dude, like we're going to smash here, or there's a ship going to ram us, they're like, oh, be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. And you were driving the ship. Like
That's
you were
right.
driving the ship. And
Right.
amazingly, you weren't held accountable for that.
So, well,
Kind of.
kind of. Yeah. So the way it works is that everyone has a responsibility. The officer of the deck, who is the guy that's overall in charge, I was a junior officer of the deck, who was the guy that drives the ship. He was caught up with the CIC watch officer. All three of us, between the three of us, we had 3 months experience. I had a month, each one of them had a month apiece. We were going through the Straits of Malacca, which is the most busiest straits in the world, at 5:18 in the morning. Normally, when you go through something like that, you have a navigation detail set, meaning you have everybody on full alert. Well, we had never set that. We were in a very casual steaming condition because the navigator miscalculated our entry into the straits. So once that happened, none of us really realized where we were at. We were on the wrong side of the road.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were arrived early. So there's a lot of things that transpired. And once again, because the captain had created such an environment, he should have been notified immediately when we realized what was going on, and he never was notified until
Why would they decide not to notify him?
because of in fear of getting yelled at or in fear of reprisal. You know.
Wow, like it's a bigger problem later, isn't it?
Well, yeah, well, but again, the way it's again. Remember, it's 4 months that's transpired. So if I got away with something once, I can get away with it twice. Now
Yeah.
I'm really relaxed in it, and that's what happened.
I mean, it sounded like the way you wrote about it was like Margaritaville on the ship. Everybody was in their shorts or whatever. Like it was party time. It was like nobody was in uniform. Were they?
So we had just left the Persian Gulf, pretty stressful. We were in t-shirts, but the main point that I was making in the book is in combat systems, that's the heartbeat of the ship. And at night, we have red lights on, so for your night vision. They had white lights on, which destroy your night vision. Half the crew was still in their bed sleep. The supervisor decided to split the crew. I mean, they made some really obnoxious decisions, and this was allowed. And so, had we been in the posture that we should have been in, even had we not been at navigation detail, it would have still been the right complementary people in place to have validated what was going on. But because nobody was in place, again, it was all the things that could go wrong
Went wrong.
at one particular time.
And I mean, like you're a warship. You've got ordnance on. You've got, it could have been worse.
Could have been a lot worse, absolutely.
But it actually hit your stateroom, didn't it? You said you lost everything.
It hit where I slept. So the only thing that I had after the collision was what I had on.
Wow.
All my belongings are on the bottom of the ocean somewhere.
Everything you bought, everything
gone.
gone.
And that's a very weird feeling to not be able to go take a shower because you don't have anywhere to change into.
Yeah. Wow. And people wouldn't share clothes? They couldn't, or?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh no, we certainly.
Yeah. But you went to what? You went into Singapore, did you, or someplace like to get the ship fetted to go back to San Diego?
So what we did was we limped into Singapore. The back end of the ship was almost sunk, basically. So we limped into Singapore. They put what they call a finger patch on the ship, just enough to hold us to get to the Philippines. And then we got to the Philippines, was able to reconstruct quite a bit of the ship and get it back to being seaworthy enough for us to sail across the Pacific back to the United States.
So at that point, you were gone 6 months from home?
No, that all in all, about 10 months.
10 months.
Yes.
That's a long time.
I missed my oldest daughter entire 4th year.
Oh, wow.
She still holds me to that to this day.
Of course she does. She's a girl. What does she want? What kind of car?
We'll
make it all better.
I've already did all that.
All right. That's great. So that Guantanamo, what was that like? I mean, you hear all about Guantanamo Bay, but I know your personal experience wasn't that great, but the actual experience, not that great either.
No, there's two schools of thoughts there, Guantanamo Bay on the base. It was either you loved it or you hated it. You hated it because you were in a responsible position and the tempo never ended. 24/7, 7 days a week, you were at the grind. The people that loved it were the people that were in non-responsible positions. So they played baseball, they fished, they did all the nice leisure things that one would do on a tropical island. So I was a major department head, and because my first day there, I seen some things that I shut down. Well, caused me to not be the favorite child.
The first time you wanted to leave the military was?
After the collision at sea.
After the collision.
Yes.
And then they sent you all to see a therapist or psychiatrist or somebody to talk to.
A psychiatrist, yes.
Psychiatrist. And that helped?
No, it didn't help me. I mean, I knew exactly what was going on in my brains. I was done with the military. I didn't trust anybody. I recognized that the system there had broke down, and it was a system that was just a mechanical system. So I just didn't see the value anymore. I didn't see, why I wanted to be a part of that. And so this psychiatrist insisted that I get back on the horse and that yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, dude, I get that. But I'm done. I'm glad that his advice worked. Getting back on the bridge, driving the ship again, reinstilling confidence, but learning a different level of the system and a different level of trust.
Yeah. So new lessons, new rules kind of probably came out of that. And then you, after that, I think you went back to school after that.
Yes. You mean after the Kincaid or after?
After you got back to San Diego, did you not go back to school and decide to try something different? Was it in the aerospace?
No, so I went back to school. So when I joined the Navy, like you, I hated high school and didn't want to do anything with college and that sort of stuff. So I joined the military. But then I started realizing after that collision, again, that I had to get my life together and I needed to get educated. And so I did. I started. I had already achieved my associate's degree in electronic technology. So I went, hey, if I'm going to do this and get out, I need to be ready. I need to have a career and I need to have an education. Mm-hmm. So I put my focus on work, going to school at night, earning my degree, and I ended up earning my master's degree in computer information system, my undergrad degree in business. Mm-hmm.
That's excellent. And then, and then, I'm going to fast forward. After you left the military, you went to work for the government.
Yes.
Another system. That's a system I know well too. I worked for the government for a while. And you talked about 9/11, because 9/11 I was working in cabinet office in Ontario, Toronto, and I bucked that system. That was a system I was able to buy, because I had come in as an entrepreneur. Somehow they found me. I was a kickboxing promoter, and they go, hey, come and do our stuff. I'm like, okay. So I said, I found that I didn't want to be clock watched. I didn't want to, tell me when the deliverable is ready or needed by, and I'll be there and I'll have it done, but I'm not going to sit in your office all day. Like, that's not who I am. And it worked for me. Somehow I got away with it, but nobody else got away with that.
So we have some very similar characterizations. Very similar, because that's exactly my mantra, for sure.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So the government was good, though. I mean, it's good in a lot of ways. You make money, and you make policies, which is kind of fun. You were in policies, weren't you? You wanted to do policy?
So I started out operational, and I really enjoyed being operational. I did some amazing things. I brought all the services together to one common thought process, one common way to go forward, which I'm very proud of. And so in order to get my 15, I had to move over into the policy and guidance side of the business. And that's when it just drove me absolutely nuts, because to sit behind the desk, not being in control of your dollars, inserting yourself into areas that no one wants you into, and writing policies that everyone fought against, just made it ridiculous. And then the crew that I was around were very complacent, is the best word I can say. And so,
well, yeah. Oh, that was the other part that I had to laugh at you when you wrote about that, because there are two systems. Oh, what happened to my video? Two systems in government: those that work really, really hard,
yep.
Public servants, and those that it's just a lifer position and I don't have to do anything. And so and when you come up against those folks, it's like, oh my God, like you just don't know what to do with them. So you ran into that we meant, you're solving problems. You're not supposed to solve problems here. You're supposed to sit and get your paycheck. Come on, dude. What are you doing?
and you know what that's all about. And I figured that out was that when you're stepping outside of your rice bowl, guess what you're doing? You're stepping into someone else's rice bowl.
Yeah.
And people are very protected, and especially if they're a sleeper, and all of a sudden you just expose them.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge that I ran into. So
yeah.
I feel like I was fighting City Hall.
And you started your own company. Woohoo!
I did.
Omni to Max. So you've got this amazing company and you're doing defense work. And what does that consist of?
a while. So we're doing some really, really cool stuff. So again, out of frustration, I said, hey, I think I could serve the government better if I was a contractor and supported you versus being in the government, you know. With
Plus, you make more money.
yeah,
Contractors make more money.
and that too. And that too. But oh, man, I lost my train of thought there really quick.
You could support the government better by being a contractor.
Yes, and so so we started doing some amazing things. I took my background and said, okay, I could found the company off of what I do: logistics, program management, engineering, systems engineering. And so we started off that way, and we got our first contract in Washington, D.C. At the Treasury Department doing printer copier repair. And I had no idea anything about copiers or repairs, but I knew how to manage and was able to leverage that into engineering, logistics, and all that. And so we did it well. We did it well, and we built past performance off of that first contract. Our next big contract was doing some aerospace engineering out of Tinker Air Force Base and structural engineering. And again, we did extremely well with that. And the rest is history. We started building a reputation. And of course, you had the haters out there saying, hey, Alan, we'll give you 5 years and you'll be back looking for a job. Well, we whizzed by the 5-year mark on fire. And then once we passed that mark, people really saw that the company was real and the company was solid and that we were an outstanding company. So today, we're doing forensics analysis for NCIS.
Wow.
Yes. We're doing a lot of cybersecurity for around the globe, actually, different entities. We're doing program management. We just got awarded a contract. Matter of fact, today is the first day of the start of a contract for doing major ship stores and different logistics type things. A huge contract that we just received.
Well, congratulations.
So yeah, we built a great reputation. Here's the beauty. We've never had to go out and do a whole lot of marketing because people have come to us asking us to be on their teams. Or
yeah.
So. Well,
and that, you know, I think that goes to reputation from all the way through, right? It's reputation and people. That's always been my motto. I don't let anybody hurt my reputation because it's everything. It's everything. You got to protect it. So before I just go back over we get to some of those rules, because I do want to get to some of them. One of my loves of my life, I guess you would say, is social impact. And so I love that you volunteer as a CFO for a nonprofit and you mentor students and ensuring that they graduate from college. And I think that's pretty great. Also, you know, I don't know a lot about Masons, but you are pretty high up in the Masons. So what is that exactly? The secret organization?
Oh, it's not a secret organization. It's not secret. You know, I like to tell people that, so if you've never been in the military, right? If someone's never been in the military and you try to explain to them about the military, they don't get it because they have no idea of what it's like to stand watch on a mid-watch. Yeah. Or they have no idea what it's like. So the same thing with Masonry. I could sit and tell you all about it. You can go on the web and pull off books,
sure.
Everything like that. But again, it's a fraternal order. It's all about God, family, and country. And it's all about being a man among men. It's all about taking care of your family and ensuring that other falling brothers, if their family's in need, that you go out and reach up and lift them up and be the support system for them in a safe, harmless environment. So that's.
And so can anybody join or are you asked to join?
So typically you're asked to join, you know, because
sorry.
They want to get the best of breed. They don't just want to get anybody. Someone that understands responsibility, someone that understands family, someone that understands a model.
Isn't there a daughters one or something, or why something for the women?
Absolutely.
What is that?
Right. So you have the Eastern Star. Which
That's
is
it.
Right. The sister to the Masons. Mm-hmm.
Is your wife in that?
My wife didn't have anything to do with it. Yeah. So only because she had a bad experience. Her dad was an Elks. And
mom, was he?
Yeah, her mom just beat it in her head that Elks were bad and all those social organizations like that were bad. And
yeah.
And when she first met me, her mother said, "Don't trust him. He's a Mason." So, now she loves me. Yeah. So
Of course she does. So, I mean, you had this drive. It's not, I'm an author 4 times and working on my 5th. And so I know what it is like to write a book. And you had a drive to write this book around systems and the rules that you came up with. And I guess you're hoping that young people, maybe older people, I don't know, but at least young people can have a look at this and say, okay, so instead of complaining that, I'm young and I'm black, or that people don't like me, or that I'm white and all the races get all the jobs now. You're like, no. There's a system. Watch the system. Work the system. Don't get bogged down in all that garbage.
exactly.
Figure it out. This is how it works.
Exactly. And it does work. It does work. I talked to a young man yesterday that blew my mind. I met him through a gentleman, and he wanted to come. He read my book. He says, I want to meet you personally. Real quick, this young man, life went to the toilet. Family, house, he lost everything. He was homeless, living on the streets. But because of perseverance, he ended up getting his education. Today, he's earning $90,000, working in a comfortable job, still not completely out of his drought. He's living in a living a room versus a house again, but he's well on his way to recovery. And I just looked at him yesterday. I wanted to hug him and just say, how did you do it? And he says, again, when I read your book, he said, it just validated everything that I did and everything that I went through. And it's understanding, life and social and society and all these different things. So we have to not let society put labels on us and say, well, if you failed at something, you're no good. That's not true.
Right.
You have to, not let that be that failure can't define who you really are.
I can't. Is it Jim Rohn? It said failure is not your undertaker. It's your teacher.
Exactly right. I agree 100% with that. You have to fail to succeed. You really do.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Let's tell everybody again the name of your book and where they can get it, and what your website, if you want.
Absolutely. The book is The System is Unforgiving. Play by the rules and win. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. The website is alanmaxwellauthor.com.
There we go. Awesome. And people can reach out and you respond.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.